All right, so we are going to have about 12 minutes for discussion in the inner circle. After that time, you are going to rotate out. Those of you in the outer circle, you are responsible for answering these 5 questions on the back of this paper. Paying attention to an interesting piece of information that was discussed, taking note of did everyone in the inner circle participate, what is one point that someone said that you agreed with and disagreed with, what was the best thing you observed, or what, if any, was the most troubling thing you observed. Maybe you noticed someone trying to talk but wasn't able to speak because one person you felt like was dominating the conversation, anything like that. Those of you in the inner circle, you only have 3 chances to speak. Every time you contribute something meaningful to the conversation, you are to take a pig and move it into your cup. When all 3 pigs are in your cup, you are out. You cannot talk anymore. Once everyone has all of their pigs in the cup, then everything resets and we can begin the conversation again and everyone is back in the conversation. So it is very important for everyone to talk and everyone to participate so we can keep the conversation flowing. Do we have questions? So everyone in the inner circle right now is the odd questions. You don't have to discuss these questions in any particular order. You can jump around. You can spend a lot of time talking about one question. Period 1 got a little bit kind of really focused on, you know, who was more guilty, and that's totally fine. As long as it's relevant to the book, you can kind of go in any direction you want to go in, okay? I am going to set my timer, and then we will start. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Begin.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with a very broad question, and that's number 9, and I think, what do you guys think the true purpose of Capote writing this novel is?
Personally, you said, I don't feel like it was for capital punishment. I personally believe it was for the insight of American violence. Most of the show, like, basically describes American violence during that time. Also, it revolves a case around 2 people and how they like went across country, not states and stuff. I don't think it was for capital punishment.
Wait, Mr. Bowler?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be your idea.
Oh my goodness. Come on in.
I feel opposite to you because Capote builds a strong personal character or connection with both Perry and Dick. But the entire story, and then in the end, they just cut them off like that. So I think that whole build-up, so from the reader to the characters, actually tries to make the reader feel like, man, maybe capital punishment isn't really worth it because, you know, the reader is rooting for these 2 characters throughout the whole novel, and then near the end, they're just.
Daniel, make sure you move your pig.
I agree with Daniel. Overall, he is shedding light on capital punishment. He's also shedding light on the criminal justice system, and he's sympathizing with Perry and Dick, more so Perry. And you can tell that he's shedding light on capital punishment, especially when he was describing the doctor and how the doctor was like himself. He was crying and he was just having panic attacks when he was checking to see if people were alive. And just overall, he just described it as very cruel and dark in the row. So.
I'm not gonna lie, now that you explain the doctor scene, now I kind of see why we're both on capital punishment. The idea of it because capital punishment is wrong. I don't know if they both really deserve that. They just deserve like life in jail. But now that you explained the doctor scene, I feel now I know why Capote actually wrote that story.
It's an interesting take. What do we think about what Shaheen said about capital punishment? That is obviously a very big part of this novel. Do we agree with it? Do we disagree with it? Do we think that was the right fit for these 2 men? Do we think it was the right fit for one of the men? What do you guys think?
I think the whole case should have just been reevaluated once again. I also believe that it was really unfair that that the doctor wasn't able to testify for him, especially since Perry was the one that actually had like schizophrenia and actually suffered from mental illness. So I believe that would have just completely derailed the verdict that they came up with, because in reality, Perry did what he did because of his clouded judgment. So I don't think he truly deserved to be killed, maybe put into a mental institution, but not to be killed.
What do you guys think? Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that?
I disagree, because I feel like even though he has mental issues, he still did an extreme crime by killing for the family members. So, I mean, I'm with the punishment that they received.
I'm somewhat like with it and like kind of against it, because Dick had a point when he said he didn't touch a hair on them. Like, you wouldn't want to be beaten by your parents because you seen your brother or little sister do something and you didn't say anything about it. You wouldn't want to be punished for that. So I kind of understand where Dick is coming from. But also, Perry kind of like, I didn't think that Perry should have like severely punished like that, because like Jason said, he suffers from mental illness and stuff like that. So he has a reason.
I actually want to ask a question. Do you guys believe that Dick and Perry both deserve the same sentence? That they both deserve death penalty? Or
Yeah.
both equally?
I would say that's a hard question, but I think they do, just because it wasn't a one-man project. It wasn't like a one-man crime. They both pitched in to the crime. One killed and the other, it was his idea, exactly. It was his idea. And even though maybe he has like problems, whatever, they still basically did it together. So I would say they would have the same punishment, but they deserve it. I mean, they killed 4 innocent people. So at that time, the highest penalty was death penalty and hanging, so, or life without parole. So I would say that they deserve it.
I agree with that because I'm sorry, because if one of them were to be killed or whatever, and then the other one would have been like freed or on patrol or whatever, they would have been walking around like, and nobody would have been like completely like felt safe because hello, there's another criminal on the loose. So
Yeah, like to ensure everyone's like safety, they just like unfold.
What are you saying?
Well, I was going to say something. I agree with Victoria because, I mean, as in, let's say, yeah, Perry was the one who murdered all of them, but then also Dick was the one who planned it. Like, Dick was the one who came to Perry, was like, yo, let's do this, blah, blah, blah. So it's also his fault. And if he could have stopped at any time, yeah, he did. So he should have the same punishment.
Yeah, I think they should have the same punishment because, let me give you a hypothetical, right? Let's say that I'm your friend, right? I know it's not, but truthfully, right? Let's say that I see your wife cheating on you, right? Okay. And I say to you, you should kill her, right? Now, I can't get in trouble for that because that's just an empty threat, you know. That's just saying that. But if I say you should go kill her, here's a gun, that's the difference, right? Dick said to Perry, hey, let's all kill this family. I know where they live, right? We know the ins and outs of their like home. We know how many people there are. I got a shotgun and I got a car. Let's just drive over there and shoot them. Right?
But I got sprayed on.
So that's just like an associate. So they're both guilty. 100%.
What are you guys' thoughts on Perry revealing his true motive for killing his brothers?
Perry has compared it, when he said, confessed what his true motive. He compared it about how soldiers, when they kill, they receive medals. What do you guys think about that?
you didn't receive a medal.
Sorry.
So What are you talking about?
I don't know. When he mentioned that, I don't know if he was trying to say he should like deserve a medal to replace killing. I don't know why he's comparing his kills to soldiers because he killed them in cold blood, basically. Four murders.
I see what you did there. Okay.
Killed them in cold blood. 4 murders. Well, they both basically did. Even though Perry pulled the trigger. But soldiers are fighting for something. Or is Perry fighting for a couple of chains in a safe?
Yeah, but that's a motive. Like for example, I mean, you should probably more say that like a soldier is. No, a soldier
Gene.
has a reasonable cause. I mean, sure that Perry also has a cause in his own sense, but soldiers are selected, trained for like what 6 months, and then drafted into the program, and then they're dropped into a country, and they're told what to do from there. Perry just kind of got influenced and was like, okay, I'm gonna go shoot these people, and then try to get away with it.
I don't know. He really didn't have a motive to begin with. Like when he was, he stated that he wanted to leave the house once there was like they found no safety. He felt uncomfortable. He didn't want to kill anyone because when he first killed her, it was because he was filled with anger. He was having like a little like schizophrenic like freak basically. So he like killed him unwillingly basically. Like his judgment was clouded, he was angry, and he just wasn't in control of himself. So then that's when he got a motive. Then he killed the others so there wouldn't be any witnesses.
About the way Perry approached Dick when Dick was trying to say, oh, I have a sexual desire for you.
Good question. What do we think, guys? Those of us that are left, this was a very heavy part of the book.
I like the way he approached it because given that Dick is the one who always tells Perry what to do and he just follows it, but this time Perry actually disagreed with Dick. And so Capote made Perry seem a little bit sane because he's actually disagreeing with something that's severely wrong. So that's
Good. You're out. Pop that pig in that cup.
I mean, how would anyone react when they realize that their friend has a sexual desire for young girls? I would feel like no one would agree to that. No one would approve that. They would like take a stand, and if they don't, then that's a different friendship. But
this also shows like some sides of Perry. Like even though he had the side when he killed family, he also has a side where he's like, no, that's wrong. Don't do that. But I don't know. He has like 2 different sides to how he is when it comes to some things.
All right, we can reset. Everyone has spoken. Let's keep it going.
So, why do you think Capote waited until towards the end of the book to reveal like how the murder actually went down?
What number is it?
I think it's because everyone was just waiting for that specific moment to like know how did they do it, who actually did it. The suspense, because everyone was like, oh my god, how did they do that?
I mean, it was suspense, but I feel like he made it so that it's like towards the end because you like realize who the characters were, like you understand them, and you get. I feel like as though Capote made it seem like I don't know how to say this, but he wanted you to think of the murder in a way, like he wanted you to visualize it, and then towards the end he would actually explain how it happened, and then your impressions of all the characters would like change, and
I agree with that. It made the book more like a learning.
yeah.
And it gave us like the time so we could like come up with our own predictions and we could be like it just made the book more interesting. Like at first I thought it was like the father that killed his family. I'm not gonna lie. Like it let us think. Like, and it just kept our mind open. And when we finally found out, it was just like, yeah.
Good point. All right, guys, nice job. You can leave the pigs on the desk. Let's rotate out.
I would like to start with question 10 because I found it myself and my most interesting. So it asks, why do you think Capote also chose to showcase other serial killers in part 4? Basically, when I read this question, like, I didn't really think about it before, but once I started thinking about it, I realized that maybe he tried to show how other serial killers to give an example of how they think and how they act. And then I realized something for a second. For example, I realized that in the death row, which is the penitentiary that they were in, Dick, unlike Perry, got along with everybody. He got along with all the serial killers. And I think that that's kind of Capote's way of hinting that, like the serial killers, Dick also has a similar mindset. Because we all know that Capote has this kind of biased opinion towards Perry. And Dick had mentioned that in the death row, none of them got along with Perry, and Perry didn't get along with anybody. Meaning he was the odd one out. There must have been a reason why he didn't get along with the rest of the serial killers. That probably was due to the fact that, unlike them, he didn't have that type of mindset to kill innocent people like that. We already know that Dick, he doesn't care. He could run over a dog, he can make up plans, schemes to kill people. But Perry, due to his mental illness, we know that that's the main reason why he committed the crime. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's, a killer at heart or intentional. So that was kind of an interesting point because I never really realized that until I started to think about it. What do you guys think? Do you think it has anything to do with the? Go ahead.
So I agree with the part that it was to show their thought process and how they think and all that. I didn't really see it as Dick comparing. Dick being a serial killer because he agrees and understands, and Perry is just like you said, an odd one out. I kind of see now. I'm oh, maybe that made sense, and I felt that Dick and Perry were most Andrew, because they killed a whole family basically. Andrew's, he was the only one left of his family, but Dick and Perry, they were good people. They were going places, all that. But then they made a bad decision. That's how Capote kind of plays it out. And I feel with all the other serial killers, he does that to kind of sympathize with Perry that one last time. Because throughout the whole book, he just slanders Dick's name, and then it's all of a sudden he suddenly is oh, maybe the death penalty is okay because it's just it's just planning your revenge, and it kind of makes sense to do that. But so I agree with the death penalty. That's what they kind of said. But then he was not on me though. I don't know.
I've heard that Capote's purpose for including these killers for a story in the novel is because he wanted to demonstrate the similarities that they all have. They wanted to demonstrate that their mind says they think he has somewhat similar because every witness, every victim that they shot was without remorse. They didn't feel anything. They didn't, he didn't, they didn't care. So, for example, Perry and Dick were going to kill this guy when they were hitchhiking. The driver, but he didn't because another hitchhiker was there. So he could go. So he would have killed with
without any other thought, just like the other killers would. So, for example, what are they named? Ronald B. Orris and James Douglas. They killed anybody that they saw. Right there and then. Moved on, killed. Andrews also killed. Moved on, came back, reported. Like nothing happened.
But I feel like the difference between Andrew and the rest of them is like the closest similarity to Perry, because he was known to have like this mental illness. Like they were questioning whether he acted out mental illness. So I feel like the difference between Andrew's story versus the rest of the guys in the death row, but like I feel like Capote like specifically like focused on Andrew's story because of the fact that it was the most similar to Dick and Perry's. It like made us see the Clutter House as it was a homicide. It brought us back to like, oh, they committed a crime. It's not just them as the person or character, it's the fact that they did something wrong, and that's why they're in the death penalty. For me, I feel like that's why part 4 was the most like shocking, because it brought you back. Because throughout the story, you get so attached to the characters that you kind of forget that, oh, they're real people who actually killed, who are about to get murdered, possibly, or like killed as a result of that. So like, it kind of was like a slap in the face, because in the end you started feeling bad for both of them regardless of what they did, because at the end of the day, death is kind of like a heavy thing to think about, and you start to wonder if it's really worth it to sacrifice a life in order to get justice.
That being said, how do you guys feel about the last statements that Dick and Perry made when they were about to be executed? I'll answer that question myself. So with Dick, you can tell that he felt nothing. He didn't feel sorry. He was actually thankful that he was gonna get out of this world. Like, who does that? No right person.
Like in that case, like if he didn't really care that he was going to die, him knowing, it could just show that he actually just at the end felt sorry for what he did.
What do you mean?
Because like in a way that if he did not really care and he was literally worth going to kill, to die, he didn't really care. And in a way, it showed that he felt sorry.
Let me use my I didn't think that Dick necessarily felt sorry for what he did, because this whole time in jail, like, he was trying to find a way to get out of it. Like, he was sending out letters to associations to fight for his retrial or stuff like that. So the fact that you're claiming that he kind of felt sorry, I kind of don't agree. I feel like the reason why he just accepted it in the end was kind of as because like there was no way of avoiding it. So he chose to take it like, how do I say this? Like kind of arrogantly, or like something. How should I word it? Yeah, like he chose to take it as if like, oh, I don't care anymore. You guys think that this isn't really gonna affect me. You're doing me a favor, like out of like a way to show them that at the end of the day, it's better than whatever was gonna come to him. So instead of feeling sorry, I felt like he was like, haha, joke's on you. It's better this way than to suffer.
Good point. You're out, ma'am.
He probably didn't want to.
What, Chris?
So he was probably like he was acting like he was like the guy and like he was like all tough and stuff. So like he wants you to show his true feelings about how he's actually feeling at the moment. You know, he knows that it was a strong thing what she said and it was gonna affect me.
In Perry's case, that's when you felt like, alright, Perry, dear old Perry. His last statement, he actually apologized. He went to the grave knowing that he knew he did something wrong. He knew he affected people's lives. He knew everything. He knew what was about. And with that, you're like, alright, you have to give a little bit of respect to the band. You know, in the end, that's what I felt when I read Perry's statements of apologizing, not only to the Clutters, but to everybody.
We're out. Move that bag.
Yeah.
Set. Maybe we talk about what was, I like question 6. Can we address that? What was the most pivotal moment? What did you guys think was the most important moment in parts 3 and 4? What stuck out to you the most?
To me, what stuck out to me the most was when Perry was like telling talking about the situation about the murder and how he was the one who pulled the trigger and how Dick was just there. But going back to the part where they both get sentenced for the penalty. I think that even though he was just Dick was just there, he deserves it because of the fact that Daniel said earlier, like he was the one that said, oh, this will be good, this and that,
I agree with that. I think that when Perry himself revealed that he killed all 4 of the Clutters, I was kind of like, I wasn't like, it was kind of expected, but it wasn't like 100% expected. Like you knew that he killed all 4 of them because I kind of like understood why in the beginning he was like, oh, it kind of makes sense that Dick killed the 2 women because he was after Nancy and he was like because he was after Nancy, Bonnie was kind of close by, so I mean he can't do anything without killing Bonnie. So I mean I guess in that sense it made sense, but then when they were like, oh no, he killed all 4, I was like, that's something else. Like I didn't really think that he had the power in him to do that. And I feel like Capote, the whole story, he was just trying to, make it seem like, Perry was innocent, and like, if we didn't read the end of the story, then we wouldn't be able to, tell that Perry actually was the murderer. You would have thought, both of them killed half and half. That's why both of them got charged. That's why both of them went to death row. But in the end, it was like, no, Perry did all of it, but they got charged both equally.
Yeah, but like, why during the whole story did Capote make him seem like make Perry seem like he's such a saying like an angel or something, even though he knows that he did something that murdered 4 people.
Yeah, why did he do that?
Like even at the end, him comparing him to other criminals, like he's making them seem like they're all the same, even though they all think they're alike or whatever. Like why did I don't understand that.
If all criminals think the same, we're all after some sort of the same kind of mindset. To go into what you guys said about equally guilty, to be associated with someone and you're not doing anything, they'll still be prosecuted. Still with him, with the similarity with the other criminals, he's very much alike. They're all very much alike, and they all share one common goal, which was.
All right. Any final thoughts from any of us in the inner or the outer circle that we want to share on this book?
Even if Dick didn't commit, well, we all know that Dick didn't kill the Clutters, so I feel like since he didn't commit the crime, he should have gotten some sort of punishment, but not the death penalty. Because in the law, let's talk about law here. Let's talk about your opinion. In the law, even though I didn't write this in my essay, in the law, you still get punished if you didn't say anything. If you witnessed a murder, you just didn't say anything, you just helped, you would just get acquitted. You still get punished, but not as severely as the person who committed the crime.
I wanted to say something. I did my research. So according to the felony murder rule of the United States, it basically says that if you played a major role as the accomplice of a murder scene, even though you weren't the killer yourself, you can be convicted of first-degree murder. And in many states, first-degree murder can be punished with life in prison or death penalty.
I still feel like legally speaking, the death penalty is illegal. So you're not even, it's against, it's unconstitutional.
Yes, think about
Okay,
the
but
time
at the
period.
same time, we still have the same
During this
constitution,
time
no?
period.
We still have the same constitution. At the end of the day, we have the same Bill of Rights since the 1800s and even before that, 1780 something. So I mean, at the end of the day, we still have the same laws. So it's unconstitutional and there shouldn't be the death penalty. So legally speaking, they really shouldn't have gotten the death penalty at all. And then Dick really should have not even gotten charged because he didn't murder. He didn't murder them. No. And at the end of the day, they also didn't provide evidence saying that Dick, you know, if he manipulated Perry into thinking all that, they didn't provide evidence for that. Because if they did the if they put the whole, you know, psychiatric analysis, you know, it would have been like, oh, okay, we understand that because Dick is schizophrenic. If they also put Perry's letter from his dad, the book that he wrote, if they put that, then we would have been like, Perry, he won't do something unless he's manipulated into thinking that, oh, this is okay to do. So I mean, at the end of the day, Dick didn't do anything because they didn't provide evidence against it.
Yes,
Okay, that was a question that I had.
There's a testimony of what that is. Like, I understand, and I like, since we have a constitution and it's obvious that we can't like violate anybody's due process or anything like that. That's a known fact. But considering how the trial itself went, you have to take into account that the evidence was solid, practically. There was a testimony and the facts.
It was against the Miranda rights.
Okay, the Miranda rights.
They caught Perry's footprints, like almost everything, like almost all the evidence that's in Perry. In Dick's case, so you know how like the death penalty is only, so the states have the power to decide whether or not
to give the death penalty.
It's not a federal decision. So Kansas, for example, had the right to
give the death penalty.
penalty.
And for that reason, that's why I kind of don't disagree with how the results ended, because of the fact that you also have to consider the times. Not everybody knew like the exact way
The
to.
case was right after.
Yeah, it was exactly. The Miranda case was right after. Not everybody knew how to go like 100% fit like on the trial. Not everybody knew how to do this like exactly 100% correct.
This trial just happened based on people's opinions, not facts.
Exactly.
You know, it happened based on people's emotions and people's need for justice. It didn't go like the attorneys. They lacked evidence. They lacked
Because they had a retrial.
I feel like that was the goal of
question for the class. Just by show of hands, how many of you think that both men deserve to die? Put your hands up. You think they both deserve to die?
When you say it like
Legally or morally? Legally or morally?
Legally. Do you think they legally deserve to die?
Okay, because then can I say something to my final thing? It's not my personal opinion. Like, I'm thinking about how I'm deciding this is thinking about the times. Because I kind of researched it more because the way Capote talked about the trial and the retrial, it was kind of like there was not enough information. So I personally went online and looked up the actual Supreme Court case, U.S. versus Hickok and Smith. In the Supreme Court case, they talked about how even though they could have suggested a change of venue because of the biased atmosphere of the trial, the Supreme Court wouldn't have allowed it anyways for many reasons. They said that the law, the Kansas law, in order to do that, the Kansas law would have to, it would have to be obvious that they had a clear prejudice, and it was it was kind of hinting at it in the trial, but when you look at the case itself, like the murderers versus like what Dick was trying to do get out of being killed, at the end of the day, the Supreme Court ruled for the facts. Since Dick himself couldn't prove that the jury was unbiased.
Constitution, supreme law of the land.
But
But to